The Dark Secret of J.P. Morgan, How One Man Haunted America's Financial Future Forever. In the shadowy alleys of Wall Street, whispers of dread echoed like a warning bell. J.P. Morgan wasn't just a man, he was a specter looming over the American economy, a puppeteer manipulating strings no one dared see. Stories swirled like fog on a winter-esque night about how he single-handedly shaped financial destinies, often at the cost of the unsuspecting common man. With one swift move, fortunes could flicker and die at his whim, leaving devastation in his wake, a phantom of fortune, or failure, depending on his mood. Oddly enough, rumors surrounded a collection of mysterious artifacts in his penthouse that no one was allowed to touch. It was said he possessed a cursed coin rumored to bring catastrophe to anyone who dared spend it. People lost their jobs, their homes, all because of a mere flip of a coin. The unnerving chill of rooms that held echoes of fierce debates, the lingering smell of cigars mingling with despair, stirred mixed emotions in those who witnessed his power firsthand. It was like being caught in the eye of a hurricane, thrilling yet terrifying. Then, one fateful morning, a shattering event gripped the nation. A bank failed with no warning, and the irony? It was his very own. The panic that erupted from that single miscalculation sent tremors through every household. Parents clutched their children with greedy terror, businesses shuttered, and in that silence, only one name hung in the air: Morgan. Like a melody gone wrong, dread lingered as everyone wondered, what had he done? What dark plays were still waiting to unfold? As people tried to unchain themselves from his growing influence, the feeling of an unseen web tightening around them grew stronger. And in the midst of all this chaos, the shadows whispered of a hidden letter, ominous yet tantalizingly out of reach. It detailed a chilling pact. Morgan had made a deal, perhaps, made with powers beyond this world. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The city swarmed with rumors, each night darker and deeper with the weight of secrets. As shadows lengthened, daring anyone to uncover the truth, whispers of a ghostly figure haunting the floors of his empire crept in with a suffocating presence. What did he know? And what would happen if someone dared to unveil the truth behind the man that seemed to play God with money? Choices hung heavy in the air as the tension sparked like a fuse waiting for a match. And all that loomed was a question that twisted in the stomach: were they ready to face the real nightmare of J.P. Morgan? The night was thick with dread, every whisper weighing heavy like the dismal clouds looming over Wall Street. The city felt alive, pulsing with fear. In the shadow of J.P. Morgan's empire, every street corner echoed the same sinister question: what monstrous entity was prowling outside the grasp of mortal comprehension? Kate, a weary journalist with fires of curiosity burning in her chest, navigated the narrow alleys, determined to unearth the truth. She had spent countless nights digging through the rubble of Morgan's empire, uncovering bits of information that lay buried beneath layers of deceit. But tonight felt different. Tonight, she could almost hear the echoes of the past, ghostly murmurs warning her to back away, yet her resolve surged as she approached Morgan's infamous penthouse. The building loomed above, its stone features twisted into an eerie facade. The legends told of the artifacts, but what truly intrigued her was the hidden letter. The very existence of it sent shivers down her spine. What price had Morgan paid for his wealth? Creeping towards the entrance, she spotted the doorman, his expression a mix of caution and indifference. The flickering light above cast a dull glow, intensifying the nervous flutter in her chest. She cleared her throat, mustering the bravado of 1,000 journalists who had faced storms far greater than this. "Excuse me," she said, her voice steadier than her hands. "I'm looking for information about J.P. Morgan's collection. Particularly, the letter." The doorman's eyes widened, as if she'd revealed a grave secret. You don't want to go there, miss. That's an invitation to things better left alone. But if it holds the key to understanding what happened, she persisted, her voice trailing off as his expression darkened. Knowledge isn't always power, lady. Sometimes, it's a curse, he replied, his voice hushed as if the walls themselves might listen. Ignoring his warning, Kate slipped inside, her heart pounding like a drum in a silent night. The elevator creaked and groaned, the metallic sounds puncturing the heavy silence around her. Each floor seemed to whisper, "Leave now," but she pressed on. She had come too far to turn back. As the doors opened, a chill washed over her. The penthouse was an ornate museum of the macabre. Shadows danced across the walls as she stepped inside, the air thick with whispers of a forgotten time. Dust motes floated in the dim light, and ancient artifacts watched her with hollow eyes. Her eyes landed on a wooden chest tucked away in a corner, covered in dark stains, an object of mystery shrouded in neglect. She could feel an invisible pull as she approached, the hair on the back of her neck rising in a warning. Lifting the lid, a gust of cold air swept through the room, chilling her to the bone. Inside lay volumes of yellowing papers, but one item caught her eye, a parchment encased in glass, its seal unbroken. She recognized the crest. It was unmistakably Morgan's. Heart racing, she willed herself to read it, but the words seemed to sway like an undulating mirage, refusing to take form. Suddenly, the lights flickered and went out, plunging her into darkness. Heart pounding, Kate fumbled for her phone, the glow illuminating a figure standing at the entrance. The outlines rippled, like smoke taking on a shape. "Do you wish to know the truth?" The voice whispered, chilling her to the core. Kate stood frozen. What truth lurked in the darkness? The room felt like a trap, the walls closing in around her. Then the figure extended a hand, and in that moment, dread coursed through her veins like ice water. Did she dare take the plunge into the abyss of secrets? Was the truth worth the price she had to pay? The weight of her decision hung in the air, a spark igniting her resolve. The darkness deepened, and suspense twisted through every fiber of her being. What awaited her if she answered that haunting question? Was she ready to unlock the door to the true terror of J.P. Morgan? Kate's breath caught in her throat as she stared at the figure, a silhouette against the faint light of her phone. The voice, haunting yet familiar, echoed in her mind. What truth could this entity possibly hold? An overwhelming mixture of fear and curiosity battled within her, pushing her closer to the unknown. "Who are you?" she finally managed to ask, her voice trembling. The figure remained shrouded in shadows, elusive and almost serpentine. An echo of choice. A remnant of desire, it replied, the voice slithering through the air like a whisper. "You've sought the secrets of J.P. Morgan. To understand wealth, you must first understand sacrifice." Fingers of ice slid around her spine. This was no mere spirit, this was a living embodiment of the legacy Morgan had left behind. Sacrifice? She echoed, trying to keep the conversation going, to buy herself time. "What do you mean?" The figure stepped closer, moving with an unsettling grace. Kate could almost see the eyes, deep pools of unfathomable darkness. His triumphs were bought with blood and shadow. "What are you willing to give to learn the truth?" Kate's heart pounded. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, to shut the chest and turn back. But the thrill of uncovering the mystery tugged at her, strengthening her resolve even in this dim hellscape. "What happened to J.P. Morgan?" she demanded, stepping forward. "What did he do? What's in that letter?" With a sudden burst of energy, the figure raised an arm, and the strong gust of wind that followed felt like 1,000 voices rustling through the air. Papers took flight from the wooden chest, whirling and dancing around them. Each sheet bore inscriptions in an archaic script. "You want the truth?" it said, the tumult radiating from its presence intensifying. "These writings hold the key to it all. But are you ready to face what lies beneath?" Instinctively, Kate took a step back. She was standing on the precipice of history, staring into the abyss of Morgan's dark past. Could she dive in, or would it consume her? What's the cost? She whispered, the words tasting bitter on her tongue. The air buzzed with opulent despair, as if the walls themselves were eager to swallow her whole. Everything, came the chilling reply. Endings and beginnings, fortunes turned to ruin. Suddenly, the room brightened, and Kate was blinded by a flash of light. Reflexively, she covered her eyes, and when she finally looked again, the figure was gone. But in its place, the parchment within the glass case glowed even brighter, an ethereal light spilling forth, illuminating horrific visions of greed and betrayal. The letters began to rearrange themselves in the air, swirling in frenetic patterns. Words she never expected emerged: names, dates, and locations, tying a web of deceit across time. A gasp escaped her. This was more than just a record, it was a ledger of the damned. Struggling to maintain her composure, Kate's fingers reached towards the case. This was her chance to uncover the unimaginable. Her heart raced, warning her of the dark forces swirling behind this letter. But just as she touched the glass, the floor beneath her quaked, and a low, mournful sound filled the air, almost like a grieving chorus. Shadows crawled out from the corner, tendrils extending towards her. Your curiosity will cost you dearly, a voice boomed, echoing around the room. As darkness surged forward, Kate stumbled backward, pulling away from the glass and the abysmal truths it contained. She realized she had two choices: retreat, abandoning the truth and forever living with the shadows of her ignorance, or confront the darkness and face the ramifications of knowledge that could shatter her world. In that harrowing moment of decision, she felt an overpowering surge of dread and anxiety push her forward. I want to know. She cried out, her voice ringed with determination, but was she truly prepared for what lay ahead, or was she already in too deep, the darkness wrapping around her like a shroud? As the shadows danced closer, her heart raced with urgency. The truth was emerging. Clawing at the edges of her sanity and whispering promises of power. Would she succumb to the allure, or would the darkness consume her first? The ground trembled beneath her feet, and she realized there was no escape from the fate she sought to uncover. What awaited her in the depths of Morgan's malevolence? The answers were within reach, but at what cost? The shadows rushed toward her, relentless in their pursuit, whispering fragments of forgotten horrors and lost souls. Kate's pulse thundered in her ears, drowning out the mournful cries echoing through the dim chamber. She had invoked the dark entity that clung to the legacy of J.P. Morgan, and now it wanted her to pay the price. Her instincts screamed at her to run, yet the allure of knowledge held her captive. She took a breath, drawing in the musty air, heavy with the weight of centuries. If she was going to face this, she needed to steady herself. The glowing parchment beckoned from behind the glass, pulsating like a heartbeat, inviting her to uncover its dreadful secrets. Whatever you're hiding, I'm ready, she whispered, though doubt gnawed at her resolve. With a rush, the shadows surged forward, coiling around her legs like serpents. She felt their icy touch, a shiver creeping up her spine, binding her in place. The walls seemed to close in, the air taut with anticipation. Fear warred with a surge of desire as her fingers brushed the glass, which felt cold and alive, thrumming with possibilities. Suddenly, the shrieks crescendoed, and she was thrust into a chaotic torrent of images. Visions flooded her mind: darkened rooms filled with the smoke of cigars, lavish parties held in opulent halls, silhouettes exchanging envelopes filled with ink that dripped like blood. She could see Morgan himself, face shadowed and fierce, orchestrating a symphony of greed that rippled through time, leaving devastation in its wake. See, the voice hissed. Look closer. The glass shattered within her mind, and she waded through the memories. Each image stabbed at her consciousness, a frigid dagger of realization. The names and dates she had seen earlier danced like specters. They seemed familiar but twisted by deception. There was Hughes, the man who supposedly drowned in a boating accident. The company that spiraled into bankruptcy after signing a contract with Morgan. And then, lurking farther back, a woman named Eliza, an unsung heroine whose sacrifice paved the way for the empires built on graves. Kate's heart raced. What do you want from me? She yelled, struggling against the phantom chains the darkness wrapped tighter around her. Truth demands a sacrifice. You must unearth Eliza's story. The voice twisted around her, the shadows pulsing with life. She thrust a hand forward, desperate for that letter, that fateful connection to the past. I'll do it. I'll uncover everything. The shadows recoiled for a fleeting moment, reassessing her resolve, but then surged forward, burrowing deeper into her skin. Each breath felt heavy with darkness. The journey you must take into her life, into her choices, will cost you your own. The ominous warning loomed, but Kate felt the pulse of determination drive her forward. I don't care. I can handle the truth. At that moment, the room erupted in a blinding explosion of light. She clenched her eyes shut, the brilliance piercing through her defenses like a sword. When the light receded, she found herself standing in an unfamiliar room, a dimly lit attic adorned with relics of the past. Dust motes floated through the air like trapped memories. Amidst the clutter lay a weathered trunk. It called to her, the air thick with urgency. She approached, her heart pounding louder than ever. As she knelt before it, a name echoed in her mind. Eliza. The answers she sought were buried here, waiting to be unearthed, and yet. What awaits me in this attic? Am I ready for what I'll find? With trembling hands, she opened the trunk, and the air was thick with the scent of age and secrets. Inside, a single letter rested atop a pile of yellowing papers, the handwriting elegant yet haunting, but behind her, she felt a presence returning, a dark, ominous shadow that seemed to whisper, "You think this is just the beginning?" Kate's heart stuttered, a chill creeping back down her spine. What truths lingered with Eliza? And more importantly, what darkness was still hungry for its next victim? The battle for knowledge had begun, but darkness was never far behind. Would Kate be strong enough to survive the secrets waiting inside? Kate's fingers trembled as she unfolded the letter, the delicate paper crinkling under the pressure. The faint scent of ink and aging parchment filled her lungs, merging with the musty room's air. She braced herself, the surroundings fading as the words danced before her eyes. Dearest Robert, it began, the choice I make today weighs heavily on my heart. The lives of many lay in the balance, and this darkness, the kind you warned me of, seeps ever closer. A rattle echoed through the attic, a sudden rush of wind that seemed to breathe life into the long-forgotten space. Kate jumped, her pulse spiking again, adrenaline flooding her veins. The shadows loomed closer, swirling, whispering doubts and fears. They clawed at her mind, threatening to wrest control away from her. "Who's Robert?" she muttered, trying to piece the puzzle together as she scanned the letter. Her breath quickened, not just from fear but from an insatiable curiosity. What had Eliza gotten herself into, and how was it linked to the negative legacy of J.P. Morgan? Deeper she dove into the letter, the ink seeming to glow with intensity, pulling her under. Eliza spoke of a deal, of sacrifices and choices to be made, each word tangible and pulsating with desperation. "If I don't do this, what will happen? The risks to our family are unimaginable," she read, feeling the weight of those words sink deep. The letter continued, each line tightening around her throat. Memories flooded her thoughts, fleeting glimpses of her life as shadows of the past seemed to drop around her like leaves in autumn. A figure, a man with piercing eyes, flickered in her mind. Robert, a name linked to pain and secrets. Kate gasped, the pieces beginning to align, sensing the intertwined fates of those long gone. That letter wasn't just a message, it was a pivotal moment frozen in time. Just beyond the fragile parchment, she felt the pulse of Eliza's heart. All around her, the shadows began to swirl in a frenzied dance, their whispers growing louder, more insistent. "Find the truth, Kate, uncover the sacrifice before it finds you. What are you hiding?" she shouted, frustration boiling over. The intensity of the moment gripped her, suddenly lifting her out of the chaotic atmosphere. "Do you think I'm scared? I've come this far." The shadows recoiled momentarily, and in that brief silence, something within her ignited a fierce resolve. She was not just chasing answers, she was standing at a crossroads, a chance to face a darkness that had haunted generations. Montage images of J.P. Morgan's rise flashed before her eyes. Success built on the backs of the broken, secrets spat forth like venom. It was as if the attic itself was showing her a tapestry woven from betrayal, but then came the sharp crack of reality. A dark figure emerged from the corner, its outline rising from murky depths, eyeing her with predatory interest. "Find Eliza. No one finds her, not without paying the price." The spectre's voice was a chilling caress, slicing through her defenses with ease. Kate's breath hitched, fear was carving a path through her brave facade. She stood, heart racing, between the horrors of the attic and the unknown danger that awaited beyond. "I want to let you take me," she yelled, gripping the trunk for support. Suddenly, the shadows surged forward, consuming the light, swallowing her anger whole. Kate felt herself being pulled toward the edge of a dark precipice, a reveal that could shatter her very existence. Just before she could grasp the edges of the darkness threatening to envelop her, the letter slipped from her fingers, fluttering to the floor, revealing another sheet beneath it. It trembled slightly, as if alive, whispering secrets yearning to be whispered aloud. "Will you dare to uncover the hidden truth?" echoed the entity, sinister yet alluring. Kate wasn't ready, yet she felt the pull of inevitability. Did she have the bravery to grasp that next document? What new horrors and truths awaited her in this dark maze, twisted by time and choices made long ago? The shadows danced dangerously close, eager for an answer. Would she emerge as a savior or succumb to the sinister legacy of a man who had once reigned supreme? The next step loomed, a darker mystery enshrouded in veils of darkness and echoing consequences, and with that, Kate had no choice but to seize the moment. What lay in that next letter might be her only hope against the gathering shadows, but at what cost? The air thickened as Kate hesitated, just a breath away from the second sheet. It shimmered with an eerie light, calling to her in low, seductive whispers. She took a shuddering breath, drew her hand back, and, with a mix of trepidation and determination, finally reached for the fragile paper. As her fingers brushed against it, the shadows receded for a heartbeat, a momentary truce in the chaos enveloping her. The weight of its implications settled on her shoulders like a heavy cloak. She unfolded the sheet, her heart pounding in sync with her thoughts racing to comprehend what the next revelation might bring. There it was, written in a hurried scrawl, a stark contrast to Eliza's earlier, elegant penmanship. The words poured out in jagged sentences, betraying a sense of urgency and fear. "Robert is not what you think," it began. "He made choices that have bound our fates. I fear the darkness he has brought upon us. If you are reading this, my beloved, know that I buried the truth beneath layers of fabric and time." A chill ran down Kate's spine, the room now feeling like it was closing in around her. Who was Robert? What truth had Eliza hidden? Each word sent electric shocks of adrenaline pulsing through her body, urging her to keep reading amid the rising dread. "It is the heart of J.P. Morgan's legacy," Eliza had scrawled, "and its pulse beats within the walls of this very house." Kate's heart raced. Within the walls. She whispered to herself, glancing at the attic's shadowy corners, suddenly aware of the secrets that may be lurking just beyond sight. She squinted into the dark, her intuition flaring. What could possibly be hidden here? Then, out of nowhere, a loud bang echoed, jolting her out of her thoughts. A box from the far side of the attic had toppled over, spilling its contents like forgotten memories. Surprised, Kate stepped cautiously toward it, heart thumping wildly in her chest. Among the debris, she noticed something that looked oddly familiar. It was an old, tarnished key, glinting dimly among the dust. Why would a key be here, and what could it possibly unlock? Her instincts screamed that it was significant. Her fingers closed around it, the metal chilling against her skin. She couldn't shake the feeling that it was tied to the revelation that lay in Eliza's warning. Was it the key to uncovering the truth? Or was it a catalyst for unlocking something far darker? Kate, the voice echoed again, softer now, yet still commanding. Find the door that binds us. With the key snugly in her palm, she turned to face the shadows once more. What door, what binding, and what awaited beyond? The tension had mounted, layers of secrets and darkness intertwining, threatening to consume her. The attic began to tremble, a tremor beneath her feet like a pulse awakening after eons. The whispers grew louder, spiraling into a cacophony that threatened to shatter her sanity. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept through the room, lifting the pages around her, the fluttering resembling the wings of trapped birds desperate to escape. Kate felt a surge of terror and exhilaration, an uneasy alliance. She had to find the truth not just for herself but for the legacy of those who had come before her. With every ounce of courage she could muster, Kate knew she had no choice but to discover what lay behind the hidden door. The shadows resumed their dance, a dark ballet that filled the room with an ominous promise. Would she emerge with answers or plunge deeper into the abyss of secrets? The key burned in her pocket, urging her onward, beckoning her to face whatever lay ahead, and with one last glance at the remnants of the past, she threaded her way toward the uncertainty, breathing, "What's next? What more do you want from me?" Her every step echoed with foreboding, the sound of destiny drawing nearer. But what lay behind that door? The question ignited her resolve, and with it came the undeniable need to unravel the mystery before it unraveled her. Yet, as she reached for the handle looming in the shadows, could she bear the weight of the truth? Waiting to be unleashed. Kate's hand trembled as she grasped the cold doorknob, an icy sweat breaking out on her brow. The shadows pressed down like a thick fog, daring her to leave the safety of her thoughts behind. She hesitated, heart racing, unsure if she was ready to confront whatever was hidden on the other side. The whispers crescendoed, a disordered symphony of fear echoing within her. "Find the door that binds us." It was almost a lullaby, yet it promised danger and revelation in equal measure. Steeling her resolve, she turned the knob. The door creaked open with a reluctant protest, revealing a narrow staircase spiraling downward into darkness. Instinctively, she flipped the switch for the attic light, but nothing happened. "Of course," she muttered under her breath, "the power likely long forgotten." But she couldn't turn back now. With her heart in her throat, Kate ventured into the gloom, the key heavy in her pocket, pulsing like a living thing against her thigh. Each step down the staircase felt like descending into the very pit of mystery. The air thickened with dust and history, tinged with a musty smell that felt ancient. As she descended, she thought about Eliza's words. Buried the truth. It was unsettling to consider what secrets were interred down here. In the darkness, the wind howled faintly, sending chills along her spine. She navigated by feel, fingers tracing the rough wall. Suddenly, she caught sight of a faint light flickering like a distant star. Hope. Fear. Both surged in her chest as she stumbled toward it. At the foot of the stairs, she found a door, old and ominous, beams of light bleeding through cracks in the wood. The key in her pocket felt hot now, almost urging her to use it. With quaking hands, she withdrew it, feeling the intricate design of its tarnished surface. "Here goes," she whispered, and with firm resolve, she slid the key into the lock. It clicked unmistakably and she pushed the door open. What lay beyond was a room filled with rotting bookshelves, thick with layers of dust and cobwebs swaying gently in the breeze that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere. But what caught her breath was the sight in the center: a magnificent wooden table, splattered with ink stains, covered in sketches and documents. As she stepped closer, her eyes widened in shock. There were old ledgers, financial records that hinted at dealings shrouded in intrigue. But sitting atop it all was an ornate box, richly decorated, begging to be opened. She could feel history pressing against her from all angles, the weight of thousands of unsaid words urging her on. Her fingers trembled as she reached for the box, her ears suddenly catching the echoes of distant whispers morphing into a clear voice. "Kate, do not let it claim you." It was Eliza. "Why now?" Hands shaking, she opened the box and gasped. Inside lay a collection of documents, much more than she had prepared for: bank statements, illicit contracts, even letters tied to J.P. Morgan himself. This wasn't just any family secret, this was an intricate web of deceit, the threads reaching far beyond what she could comprehend. But before she could process what this meant, a shadow flickered at the edge of her vision. She turned, instinctively closing the box tight, the sound echoing ominously in the silence. "Who is there?" she called, heart racing once more as the air grew colder. A low chuckle came from the shadows, unmistakably familiar yet distorted. "Did you really think you could unravel the past, Kate? The voice slipped like ice into her veins. Her breath caught, the key still clutched in her hand. Had she opened Pandora's box? The darkness around her thickened, holding its breath as the laughter faded, leaving only the sound of her wild heartbeat. She stood frozen, caught between the overwhelming urge to flee and the magnetic pull of the truth. What had she awakened? With the fragile documents in hand and danger lurking nearby, Kate felt the weight of generations resting upon her shoulders. The choice was hers, to confront the shadows or let them swallow her whole. What lay beyond this moment could redefine everything. But would she be able to confront the legacy of deceit that bound her fate to Robert? As she clenched the key tightly, she whispered, "I want tea." Back down the darkness answered back. The air grew colder, thick with the tension of secrets unearthed. Kate's heart pounded fiercely against her ribs, drowning out the silence that enveloped her. She felt trapped, not just in the dimly lit room but in a web of history she did not fully understand. "Show yourself!" she shouted, her voice trembling but defiant. The darkness shifted, shadows swirling like smoke, and for a moment, she saw the outline of a figure, just beyond the threshold of the light. The familiar form of Eliza, or what used to be Eliza, lingered for a heartbeat, her eyes filled with an urgency that sent panic crashing over Kate. I can help you," the figure whispered, her voice tinged with desperation. "But you need to trust me." "Trust?" Kate echoed, incredulity sharpening every syllable. "You left me with nothing but questions. Why should I believe you now?" Eliza's image flickered like a broken projection, and Kate's stomach twisted, caught between fear and hope. "Because I know more than you think. This room, these papers, they hold the truth. But there are forces that want to keep it buried." With that, the air charged as if the very walls were listening. Kate took a step back, her mind racing. What forces? And how deep did the betrayal run? Remembering the box, she opened it again, peering into the chaotic spread of documents. One caught her eye, a letter, yellowed with age and bearing an insignia she recognized. The initials JPM were embossed in gold. She unfolded it carefully, a chill rushing through her as she read words inked with urgency, laying bare connections to financial crimes tied to power players of today. A sudden crash echoed from behind her, rattling the shelves. Startled, Kate whirled around, nerves screaming at her to run. But she was no longer the fearful girl from hours ago. The fear transformed into determination. There had to be answers. "Take the ledger. It's the key," Eliza's apparition urged, ghostly fingers stretching toward the wooden table. "But don't lose sight of the truth." She hurled herself back to the table, her breath quickening as she grabbed the largest ledger, its spine cracking under her grip. It felt impossibly heavy, laden not just with pages and ink, but with the essence of every dark deal made in shadowy corners. Her mind raced as she flipped through it, detailed transactions, hidden numbers, but also names of individuals long gone yet somehow anchored in a present filled with dread. "Kate," Eliza urged again, her voice wavering, "the truth is a double-edged sword. Use it wisely, it could destroy what you hold dear." Before Kate could respond, the room shifted again as the air thickened, pressed down by an unseen force. Her heart raced, every fiber of her being urging her to flee, yet a piece of her remained, tethered to understanding. She had to reveal the truth. "Enough games!" Kate shouted, the words escaping her lips in a fierce battle cry. "What do you want from me?" Just then, the shadows coalesced around her, intensifying, until she felt an icy grip around her wrist. The laughter twisted in her ears again, now louder, mocking. "Did you think you could plunge into our depths unscathed? You're not ready to bear the weight of this world, Kate." Her breath quickened, pulse pounding like a war drum. She felt the room closing in, the very walls bearing witness to her choices. "Fight or flee, Kate." Eliza's voice tried to rise above the cacophony of terror wrapping around her. "Or risk being lost forever." The grip tightened, and for a haunting moment, Kate felt the weight of every unspoken memory, every hidden truth. What would she lose if she chose the truth? Was facing the darkness worth the chance of annihilation? With the ledger clutched under her arm and adrenaline coursing through her veins, Kate weighed her options. The choice before her could shatter everything or finally set her free. Could she handle the truth? Or would it consume her whole? As the laughter receded into an echoing silence, she stood on the brink, heart racing, ready to confront or be consumed. But just as she took a heavy breath, a voice whispered. From the shadows, you must share the truth, or risk its wrath. She felt the darkness thrum around her, a pulse, alive and watchful, waiting for her answer. Where would she go from here? The ledger felt like an anchor, heavy and unyielding, its secrets pressing down on her chest. Kate stood there, caught between the shadows and a flickering memory of Eliza, her confusion clawing at her sanity. This is madness, she exclaimed, shaking off the chilling grip of panic that threatened to swallow her whole. Don't be afraid, Eliza's voice echoed softly, layered with an urgency that was both comforting and haunting. You're not just holding history, you hold power. Power? The word reverberated in Kate's mind, intertwining with dread. Should she be afraid or empowered? Facing the darkness wrapped around her felt insurmountable, the choices slashing through her like knives. How can I trust you? She whispered, her voice trembling, each syllable heavy with doubt. From the periphery, spectral shadows danced, exposing brief flickers of twisted faces. The laughter returned, cruel and echoing, and it wrapped around her, taunting. You'll regret not believing. With shaking hands, Kate flipped through the ledger. Names began to leap out, big names, influential families whose legacies intertwined with a greater conspiracy. There were dates and amounts that chilled her spine like a cold wind. Why were these people hiding this? They're all linked to the JPM dynasty, Eliza implored, almost desperate now. Their webs of deceit extend to today. But if you unveil the truth, the personal cost might be more than you dare imagine. A shiver coursed through Kate at the thought of exposing those who had everything to lose. But the idea of not knowing, of remaining consumed by shadows, that was unbearable. She pressed on, absorbing the pages filled with dark dealings and secret negotiations. Each transaction was a thread in a larger tapestry of corruption. As she pieced it together, a glimmer of understanding sparked. Something monumental was buried here. Something that could shatter families and ruin reputations. Suddenly, the lights flickered, plunging the room into darkness for what felt like an eternity. When they returned, a figure stood before Kate, not Eliza but something entirely different yet just as familiar. It was a man, tall and foreboding, with a chilling presence that made her blood run cold. His eyes glinted like obsidian marbles, reflecting no warmth, only darkness. Kate, he uttered, his voice smooth yet dripping with malice. You're meddling in affairs that are far beyond your comprehension. You should have left well enough alone. Who are you? She demanded, clenching the ledger tighter, the weight suddenly a source of strength. Let's just say I'm a protector of legacies, and I can't let you wield that kind of knowledge without consequences. Fear twisted in her gut, making it hard to breathe. The grave threat hung in the air, thick with unspoken dangers. Eliza's words flashed before her, the truth is a double-edged sword. What do you want? Kate asked, her heart racing, fueled by a mix of panic and resolve. He took a slow step closer. All I want is for you to forget. Walk away now, Kate, and none will have to suffer. No. The word escaped her lips before she could think. I want to back down. You can't scare me into silence. With that declaration, the air around her shifted. The shadows grew restless, swirling like a storm brewing. There's power in truth, Kate, the dark figure hissed, an ominous smile slithering across his lips. But you have no idea what it could unleash. Kate's heart thundered as the shadows breathed deeply, readying themselves for action. Would the truth rip her world apart? Or could it be the key to unraveling everything? As the man's face twisted into a mask of fury, the room erupted into chaos, shadows lunging forward, wrapping tightly around her. Kate gasped, struggling against the tightening grip. Would she be able to wield the truth? Or would she be swallowed by the darkness, her legacy forever hidden in the depths? In that charged moment, she realized it wasn't just her freedom at stake. It was the fate of an entire legacy that teetered on the brink. Caught in the maelstrom of choices, Kate felt herself being drawn towards an echoing abyss. What awaited her on the other side? Clarity or annihilation? The question loomed, an unbearable weight pressing down, as she fought to uncover which truth would emerge victorious. The darkness coiled tighter around Kate, shadows twisting like serpents, suffocating her spirit. With each breath, she felt the weight of generations pressing down on her. All this for knowledge. All this for the truth. The sinister figure loomed closer, a malignant specter seeking to quench her resolve. "Let me go. You can't hold me here," she shouted, each word tinged with desperation, her voice a resonant pulse in the stifling air. The ledger felt heavier, its binding a reminder of what she fought to unleash. She glanced at the remnants of Eliza's warning, echoing in her mind, "The truth is a double-edged sword." The figure took another menacing step forward, shadows billowing from him like dark smoke. "Powerless worms don't challenge the legacy of J.P. Morgan," he hissed, eyes glinting. "You'll find no allies in your pursuit. Ignorance was bliss, and now you'll tear the veil." With a fierce roar, Kate wrenched her thoughts from fear and into strength. "I am no worm. I'm a voice for the forgotten." Her words cut through the haze, igniting a fierce ember of courage within, a blaze kindled by the oppressed and the sacrificed. "You think you're powerful, but you're just an echo of a man long gone. I'll expose everything." The shadows flared, as if in protest, swirling into chaos, but amidst that tumult, something shifted. A gust swept through the room, lightening the oppressive air for just a heartbeat. Kate could almost hear the chorus of voices urging her on, guiding her, whispering that she could reclaim their stories. The figure snarled, his expression warping with rage. Shadows launched at her, but with newfound determination, Kate held the ledger high. "I will reveal your secrets," she cried, the declaration echoing like thunder, reverberating through the darkness. With a desperate but powerful thrust, she tore through the swirling shadows and pressed the ledger against the figure. "This is not just paper. It's the truth. It belongs to those who suffered. You will be forced to confront what you've attempted to bury." For a moment nothing happened. The world stood still, silence encasing her in its fervent embrace. Then, the figure's face contorted as shadows and light collided in a violent eruption. The room shook, and words from the ledger surged forth. Names, dates, and the echoes of painful history swelled in the air like an orchestra playing a desperate symphony. The dark figure shrieked as words poured from the ledger, binding him in place. "No. You cannot unleash this. The consequences, it's a curse." Ignoring the warnings, Kate pressed on, her voice unwavering. "I will not let fear rule my life. I will tell the world what you did, what you took." Each declaration shrouded him with the weight of reality. A brilliant light burst forth from the ledger, illuminating the chamber and dispelling the shadows, sending the spectre careening backward. Kate shielded her eyes from the glare as vibrant images erupted into view, the struggles of the neglected families, the obstacles faced by those who dared to stand against Morgan's empire. Each image fortified her resolve, illuminating everything she had fought for. When the blinding light began to dim, Kate stood her ground, heart racing but her spirit unhindered. The figure writhed in agony, his threat unraveling, caught in a web of his own make. "You'll pay for this," he snarled, voice twisting with desperation. "You cannot win against the weight of history. History needs to be unveiled." Kate shouted back. "You may think it binds us, but we can redefine it." With one last surge of resolve, the shadows dissipated, collapsing under the sheer weight of her worth. The spectre screamed as he faded, consumed by the very legacy he had attempted to wield against the living. In that liberating moment, Kate felt the darkness withdraw, and a lightness enveloped her like a gentle dawn breaking through a long night. Exhaling a slow breath, Kate took in the remnants of the room, now filled with a calm she had desperately sought. Eliza's voice echoed within, no longer clouded by despair but illuminated with hope. You have the truth, Kate. Do with it what you must. With trembling hands, Kate grasped the ledger, ready to share the stories it held. She knew she must rise, not just for herself but for all those whose whispers lingered in the shadows. In the wake of her triumph, she felt lighter. A new chapter waited ready to be written, a path forged through vulnerability and strength, a testament to the power of truth, and as she stepped back into the light, Kate carried with her the burdens of the past transformed into the promise for the future, determined to ensure that history's darkness would never again eclipse the dawn of truth. This is the moment. Don't just remember her journey, share it. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion, because you need to support the channel and spread the truth. Don't wait even one more second to share.